Hey everybody, Alex Kalafa here, and today I am joined by the infamous Zachary Miller to have a general discussion about New Super Mario Bros. U, part of our Review Revisit feature series, in which we take a new look at a game that came out some time ago. The article this is paired with on NintendoWorldReport.com will have brand new thoughts from a handful of staffers alongside their brand new scores, 2 years after the original release.
Wow.
Originally released alongside the Wii U's launch on November 18th in North America, November 30th in Europe and Australia, and December 8th in Japan, New Super Mario Bros. U is treated as the big Wii U launch title and the first launch, non-remake, Mario platformer in a very long time, let alone 2D platformer. It is also the fourth game released in the new Super Mario Bros. Series, and the second new Super Mario Bros. Game released in 2012, which follows the summer release of New Super Mario Bros. 2 on 3DS. It was developed by EAD Software Development Group number 4, and its primary producer was Takashi Tezuka, who some of you may know as one of the primary designers on Yoshi's Island. Well, he was one of the primary producers on the Yoshi's Island games. And he is one of the big Mario guys. Like, outside of Miyamoto, the second most historically significant Mario guy is easily this guy. So we got the right guy for the job. And then EAD 4, they did some work on Pikmin 3, they're making Mario Maker, and they are also the team that makes the new Super Mario Bros. Games. So, Zach, what are your general thoughts on New Super Mario Bros. U? Or better yet, have your thoughts changed since its original release?
No, I actually went back when I got home from work today. I tried to find a stage that I hadn't 100%ed, and I did. There was one in the Star Road levels that I hadn't gotten all the red coins on or something. And man, that game is like New Super Mario Brothers. Like,
yep,
it's the
but
best.
It's just a better version.
It's the best version of New Super Mario Brothers. You know, you say sequels, and they are sequels, but they're also kind of like remakes of each other. Like, each one is just basically the same game with some new stuff or better graphics. Like, this game has the baby Yoshis and the squirrel suit. We'll talk about that. But, you know, it's not a whole lot different than New Super Mario Bros. U. Even the level progression isn't all that different.
Which one?
Oh, I'm sorry, New Super Mario Bros. Wii.
Okay.
Even the level progression isn't all that different. So it's... You know, there's nothing wrong with the game. It's just, you know, more New Super Mario Brothers. And I never played New Super Mario Brothers 2, actually. But I assume it's very similar, except for the gold thing.
Yeah, it has that, and it's much easier than the other New Super Mario Brothers games.
Yeah, this game gets friggin' hard.
In a good way, I think.
Yeah, in a good way.
It challenges you in a way that New Super Mario Bros. Wii and the original DS game especially did not.
Very true.
So, I think the interesting thing about the series fatigue on New Super Mario Bros. Isn't just that the games released within a few years of each other, or the fact that the games have the exact same, like, polished, super polished aesthetic.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of little things that the developers refuse to change almost on a stubborn level. For instance, the music is still a series of... all the enemies, fucking exactly.
Yeah, my least favorite part of that whole series.
And, if you think about it, although the original New Super Mario Bros. On DS had some unique bosses, New Super Mario Bros. Wii, New Super Mario Bros. 2, and New Super Mario Bros. U have had the Koopalings in maybe the exact same order, with very similar battle patterns, for 3 games in a row. With Bowser at the very end, who eventually turns into a bigger Bowser.
Wow. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And then the mechanics... You think about the original Mario game, and you look at Mario 1 to Mario 2, maybe the mechanics don't change that much if we're talking about lost levels. From 2 to 3, the mechanics have a huge overhaul, just physics and everything. And then Mario 3 to Mario World... Mario feels even different then. But with New Super Mario Bros., although the physics are slightly tightened, and although it's still a masterfully made game, every single game plays and feels exactly the same, although the games have different difficulties. That's the only difference. On the positive side, this game is probably the best one of the New Super Mario Bros. Games that have come out. Because... it is more challenging, as we said, than the previous New Super Mario Bros. Game, but it also adds some really cool stuff. For instance, it is now in Super Sharp HD.
Yeah, and it is pretty.
It is a super pretty game, especially when you got things like the lampposts that do their little reflection thing.
Oh, yeah.
Or when you see Mario and the enemies, and they have that kind of sterile, but also kind of cool-looking plasticky sheen to them. You got the squirrel suit, which is a surprisingly inventive power-up that handles a little bit like the Tanuki suit, except that you're always going down.
I think it's a little more like the cape in Mario World.
Very true, because the cape, you have that little jump thing you can do, which is also like the squirrel suit. You're also fluttering down, but the squirrel suit, I guess it's not actually that inventive when I think about it, but the squirrel suit's one big thing is that you can stick to walls, like a squirrel would on a tree, which I never used that much, but it was definitely different, and it actually did help on scenes where, like, the level's scrolling from top to down, and you're, like, trying to collect the coins as the screen slowly scrolls down. It became a lot easier to take your time on those stages. But it also added the new not the new Super Mario, but the Super Mario Brothers World, Super Mario World map, in which it was scrolling. It was super fluid. There was no real consistent world structure outside of the lands changing, but it was all one big map.
True.
And it was all Mario moving from one thing to another. I don't see this as that huge of an enhancement, but for some people, this was practically a game seller, because it still had its little jumping around the map thing. It still had that thing where you could actually choose which world you want to go to next.
Yeah.
It also had playable Miis in, I think, the challenge mode, which is also a new thing. There was also challenges which you could do, like collect 50 coins in this many seconds, hop on this many enemies in a row, beat this level this fast. And then it also had one of the first creative utilizations of the Gamepad, in which 4 players are playing New Super Mario Bros., but there's also a 5th player on the Gamepad who is not controlling a Mario character, but is putting blocks on the map.
Yes. Helping. He's helping.
Helping
Ideally.
In quotation marks. So you got 4 players playing New Super Mario Bros., having a gay old time. And then when they're on the map, let's say a Mario tries to jump a block, but he can't quite reach it, you can put a block underneath that Mario. Like, you can tap the screen, and then the Mario will land on the block you created. So you can essentially help him up.
Yeah.
By just building platforms all over the screen. But what you can also do, if you are feeling like a total dick, you can put platformers on top of Mario. So when he jumps, when he's ready to hit that block, you cut his jump short with a block.
Not
and
today,
then he ends up just
Mario.
Falling, and he just ends up falling to the ground.
Or into a bottomless pit.
To talk a little bit about the design, they did get a little creative here aesthetically, I think. Like, you got levels like that, the one that's like a painting.
That's one level. I wish each level had a stage like that.
There really should have been a painting world where each one takes on a different style. Like, one would be the Picasso stage, where the pipes aren't even in one piece.
Yeah. Or, like, save all those stages for the Star Road, which is just a really hard normal level.
Yeah, the Star Road, I guess, if you didn't play it, is like the 9th world that unlocks after you beat all the previous 8.
Right.
So you got levels like that. You got the sliding levels. But mostly, it plays like a slightly harder New Super Mario Bros. Game, in the sense that the levels are a little bit longer, it's a little harder to find the star coins, and especially if you're playing in multiplayer, your lives drain way faster than they do in other New Super Mario Bros. Games. Like in other games in the series, it's not uncommon to end up with 50 to 100 lives by the end of the game.
Sure.
But New Super Mario Bros. U, I actually got a few game overs, and I got a whole lot of game overs after the original game ended. I guess it's been 2 years, but did you ever have any similar trouble?
The last 2 levels I remember, especially the Bowser Castle level, was really hard because I was trying to get all the star coins, and some of them are like you can see them, you can see where they are, but to get them, you got to do this, crazy platforming. Sometimes it's timed. There's some really hard stuff, and that's where the trouble came for me. That's where my lives were being lost left and right. And I often got that super block coming up saying, hey, we can do this for you. I was like, nope. You're not going to get the star coin for me, so screw you.
That's right. They bring back the super block, where if you die a few times on the same level, you can choose to have a block that gives you basically an invincibility, Tanuki-type power, depending on the game, or just give you straight-up invincibility for the level.
Yeah.
Though, if you do this, I know this was the case in Super Mario 3D Land, but if you do this, I'm pretty sure that when you beat the game, if you don't use this special helper block, you get your golden completion stars next to your file. They sparkle if you don't use it, but if you do use it, you're just going to get regular old stars. And I guess I should note that you get these stars in Mario games after you beat the game. So next to your profile that says Alex,
right,
he beat all 8 worlds, there will be a star that says he beat the game right next to my name.
Yeah.
So, in general, it's still a slightly iterative New Super Mario Bros. Game, but it is the best one thanks to general challenge, some cool enhancements, and some creative-looking levels. The final Bowser fight was also pretty cool, if I remember, where he, I guess, spoiler alert, turns super big, and you have to get into, like, his clown car and do, like, these ground pounds with the propeller blade on his head.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah.
And then at the same time, you got Bowser Jr. flying around the screen, and you have to get the clown car away from him by, I think, either bouncing on his head or knocking bullet bills back at him.
Man, I'm going to have to replay that now.
It was actually a pretty good boss fight.
Yeah, it was.
So it's got some issues, but it also has some cool shit. Now, before we close this out, I want to talk about some of the scores some other people gave it. Neil Ronahan, our esteemed director, gave it a 9.5 and said, New Super Mario Bros. U is close to the ideal 2D Mario game hinted at by the debut of New Super Mario Bros. 7 years ago. And 2 years later, in our review revisit, we have some other staffers giving their opinion on the game 2 years, once again, after Neil's original review. Brian Rose says, now in its 4th iteration, New Super Mario Bros. U continues to not really innovate in terms of what Mario can do in 2D platforming. Absolutely correct. This isn't a bad game at all, but deep down this is probably the best version of 3 other games that are on other Nintendo systems. He gave it an 8.0.
Yeah.
Addison, always more positive, said New Super Mario Bros. U is the definitive game in the New Super Mario Bros. Series and is my favorite game in the series since Super Mario World until Super Mario 3D World came out. Or, I guess, was my favorite game in the series. And, based on what we've been saying on it, I know it's only been around 10 minutes, but listeners / watchers, take a guess at what Zach and I gave it. You ready?
Oh, did we give it the same score?
No,
okay.
Actually slightly different ones. But based on what we said, guess what we gave it? 3, 2, 1. Zach gave it an 8.0 out of 10. And you commented a lot on Mario fatigue, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And I gave it an 8.5, saying that it is a sequel that switches between the best New Super Mario Bros. Sequel I could ask for and a super iterative game. So, the opinions on this, outside of Neil's originally super positive review and Addison's return to review, his review return, most of the feelings seem pretty standard. It's a great game, it's masterfully designed, Nintendo made it after all, but it's kind of good that they're going to take a break until the next Nintendo system comes out.
We hope so, we hope.
Yeah, if they did 2 of these on a platform, I don't think that would be any good at all.
No. You know, the Mario fatigue is true. It's easy to forget that back then, I mean, we just had 3D Land, and 3D World was on, I think it had been announced, or something like 3D. We didn't know it was 3D World, but at least a Mario game from the Galaxy team for the Wii U. And there was Mario Kart 7 had recently come out, or was about to come out, and so, you know, there was a lot of Mario fatigue going on, and I think it's easy to forget that, and I'm glad we're in a period now where a Mario game is not coming out every other month, so we can have a little break before the next one.
Well said, Zachary.
Thank you. Yes.
That'll do it for our review revisit discussion of New Super Mario Bros. U on the Wii U. Thank you for joining me, Zach.
Of course.
And that will be all. If you want to hear the sultry tones of our voice elsewhere, you can listen to Nintendo World Report Connectivity, available on iTunes, available on your RSS feed, available on NintendoWorldReport.com, and if you ever want to send us a question, you can do so at connectivity@NintendoWorldReport.com. That'll be all, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Arigatos.